updated running back rankings 1 through 30, including tiers. But when I sat down to start recording this, I got some breaking news. Josh Jacobs has signed a 1-year deal worth $12 million with the Las Vegas Raiders. Honestly, I was very surprised. I sat down and expected to record the rankings, but now I got this big news. What does this mean for Josh Jacobs? It's great for Josh Jacobs. It's great for the Raiders. Apparently, it's a $12 million deal, and if they try to franchise him next year, they'd have to pay him $14+ million, which is great for him. Running backs are really getting the short end of the stick right now. So, Josh Jacobs is going to report back. Fantastic news. If you haven't drafted yet, hopefully his draft value is still down. If you have drafted, hopefully you got him because he's going to be a steal. I don't know what kind of shape he's in. I obviously haven't seen him. I think I'm going to hold to where I have him right now. And if I find out more information, I might be updating these again. There's been a lot of movement since I made my last video. So let's go over the change in rankings, who went up, who went down, and why. If you want a detailed breakdown on these players' numbers, yards, touchdowns, I go into great detail on my previous ranking videos. Check those out if you want more info on these players. I will link them here and here. Tier 1 is still Christian McCaffrey. He's all by himself. He is the best running back in the league. Tier 2, Austin Ekeler. He's an absolute beast. I do think that his touchdowns probably go down a little bit because in the last 2 years he's had 18 and 20. That is absolutely wild, but he still sits above everyone else other than Christian McCaffrey. Tier 3, we have Derrick Henry, who is an absolute beast. Previously, it was him and Josh Jacobs in this tier by themselves. But DeAndre Hopkins is in town. Though I do think it helps him have slightly less stacked boxes, they still know what the real threat is on this team. Derrick Henry is going to be the focal point. And I think this team probably throws like 2 or 3 more times a game, which takes a little bit away from the upside of Derrick Henry, but just a tad bit. Next up, Saquon Barkley, pass catching running back for the Giants. He got his deal. I'm no longer worried about that, though it's a 1-year deal. This isn't Dynasty. He's fine there. Nick Chubb, I'm a big fan of Nick Chubb. Probably the best pure running back in the league. It's absolutely insane. He's rushed for over 5 yards a carry every year of his career. Absolute beast. More details, check out that other video. Bijan Robinson was one of the movers in this list, man. The more I looked into it, the more I actually thought he was going to get the work. I still think that Tyler Algier and Cordero Patterson will be slightly involved. Bijan Robinson is going to be the clear-cut #1 dude, but I still think Tyler Algier is going to get some work. Is it going to really surprise y'all if he gets 100 carries? Ain't nobody on the Titans getting 100 carries. That's Derrick Henry's backfield. That's the difference for me. And I like Tajay Spears, but 100 carries? Shoot. Next up, Josh Jacobs, rounding out tier 3. We briefly discussed this. Josh Jacobs got paid. He's at least going to be involved for this year, and he has a reason to show out because he wants to get paid next year. So I think he's going to have a really good season. I have him down here for now, but to be honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me if he's outscored a few of those people ahead of him. But I think the 7th spot is fair for him right now. Moving down to tier 4, Tony Pollard, with Ezekiel Elliott signing with the Patriots and Dalvin Cook signing with the Jets. I think this is going to be his backfield. The only other free agents out there are Kareem Hunt and Leonard Fournette that I'd actually be worried about, but we're really close to the season, so it looks like Tony Pollard's got this backfield. And if that's the case, he's going to be pretty good. Pretty good. Let's just say I'm not afraid of Deuce Vaughn taking over major touches. He'll be involved, but Pollard's got a shot to show what he's got. And Dallas has proven they will overpay for running backs, so he might want to dominate this year. After him, we got Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon went up my board, finding out that he doesn't have a legal situation anymore. He restructured his contract, so he's definitely going to be on the team. I don't believe the NFL is going to be suspending him. So I think the 9th spot is actually the sweet spot for him. He's being dramatically undervalued in drafts. I mean, do people forget that he caught like 60 balls last year and he's in a high-powered offense? I'm loving Joe Mixon where he's going. My buddy Trevor is going to get a kick out of this. He hates Joe Mixon. Well, enjoy that, Trevor. Next up, we got Rhamondre Stevenson. I've definitely cooled off of Rhamondre Stevenson since they signed Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott is a much better running back 5 yards and in than Rhamondre Stevenson was last year, and Zeke can catch the ball. I'm not saying that Ezekiel Elliott will be a top 30 running back, but what I am saying is Rhamondre Stevenson's upside, while Ezekiel Elliott is healthy, has definitely decreased. To round out tier 4, we got Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's been banged up. Now, Whether that injury is real or if he just doesn't want to go into the facilities, I do not know. He requested a trade. They said, yeah, you can get a trade, but you got to get it done by Tuesday. That seems kind of aggressive. Clearly, people want Jonathan Taylor, but are they willing to pay a first and pay Jonathan Taylor on top of that? I don't know. But no matter what, this is not a good situation for him or you as a drafter. What do? Where's he going to be? Where's he going to play? Is he going to get an upgrade in team or stay stagnant where he is in a franchise he really doesn't want to be at? This whole running back situation not getting paid, wild. But now that I play Dynasty, it's interesting. What did Chris Rock say? I'm not saying I do it, but I understand. Running backs get injured. Most of the teams that have won the Super Bowl recently haven't paid a running back. They got to fix this running back situation. It's clearly messed up. The fact that when you draft them, you have them for so long that you could franchise them and then franchise them again. And because running backs as a whole don't get paid, the franchise really isn't that expensive. They got to redo all of this. But while the rules are the way they are, owners of the team will take advantage of that. And they're not going to be doing running backs any favors. And honestly, that really sucks. I love running backs. I like them to get paid. But I don't remember who said this first. But all the mothers out there, don't let your kid play running back. Don't do it. Quarterback, wide receiver, defense, offensive line, defensive line, just not running back. Jonathan Taylor was the last one in tier 4. Dropping down to tier 5, we have Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders dropped down a tier for me. He's still at the top of that tier. He's actually still in the same spot. He's the 12th running back I have. But I don't have a lot of confidence in that Carolina Panthers offense, which though I think Miles Sanders is going to get decent receptions, anywhere between 40 and 50. I just don't really believe in this offense as much. Offenses with rookies normally tend to struggle, and I don't think the Panthers are going to be any different. Even though his division is trash, I don't know how often they're going to be in the red zone. Next up, we got Aaron Jones. I like Aaron Jones. I think he's actually going to get more work because Aaron Rodgers is gone. They're going to want to take some of the pressure off of Jordan Love. And running backs and tight ends are good friends with rookie quarterbacks. And I know he's not a rookie, but he really hasn't played enough to be considered much more than that. Next up, Najee Harris. Najee's going to get a majority of the workload. I do think that they're going to get Jaylen Warren more involved, but Najee's the dude here. Mike Tomlin has clearly proven that he's a one running back kind of guy, but times could be changing a tad bit. I think Jaylen Warren's going to get involved, but it's clearly Najee's backfield. He's still going to have a majority of the touches. In an improved offense, I think Kenny Pickett will be better this year, which will help the team be better all around. So I think the Steelers are trending up because they were bad last year. Ugh. I can't believe they got over 500 after all the trials and tribulations this man has done, taking a below average team and be like, we're going to win most of our games. It's impressive. They're going to be better than people think they are. Just not win the division. Next up, Jahmyr Gibbs. If Jahmyr Gibbs was drafted in the second, third round, I wouldn't be as high on him. But as Matthew Berry would say, find somebody that looks at you the way the Lions organization looked at Jahmyr Gibbs when they drafted him. They up there high-fiving, jumping around, talking about some, I can't believe he was here at 12. Bruh. What? You were the only one because wasn't nobody taking no Jahmyr Gibbs in the top 12? What are you doing here, guys? But because they did that and they were so excited, this man's going to be involved. When you get drafted in the top 12, you get utilized by your offense. So I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be really good. I do think that David Montgomery is going to be very involved, but they can both be on the field at the same time. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a passing threat all year. They've been throwing around words like Alvin Kamara. All I got to say is this kid's got upside. And the offense is better than people think when they think of the Lions. They were pretty good this last year. Pretty good. Next up, we got James Conner. James Conner is going to be in an awful offense as long as Kyler Murray's not there. When Kyler gets back, I think they're going to be fine. But James Conner is going to get a vast majority of the work because there's nobody behind him that I would even think would get major touches. James Conner is going to run the ball a decent amount and he's going to catch the ball because they're going to need to move the chains. And a pass-catching running back is going to help an inept quarterback get down the field. Moving down to tier 6, Alexander Mattison. For years, we have said, well, if Dalvin Cook goes down, we know that Alexander Mattison can take the reins. He's going to be a top 10, top 15 back this week. Well, Dalvin Cook's gone. So it is Alexander Mattison's backfield. I like Alexander Mattison. I don't think that he's the most talented running back I've ever seen, but he's going to get the opportunities to be a 3-down back in a high-powered offense. What more can you really ask for? And I'm really not worried about people taking his touches. I think he's going to be pretty solid. Next up, J.K. Dobbins. Not gonna lie, really not big on J.K. Dobbins. I do think that he could have some upside. We can't say that everybody has an opportunity to possibly get double-digit touchdowns. And I think that he has that upside. I also know that the Ravens don't pass the ball to the running back. Now, I hear you. They have a new offensive coordinator. They're gonna throw the ball a lot. I think that they will. I think this offense is gonna be much better. And I think Lamar Jackson is also going to be better. And they will throw more. But will it be to the running backs? And how much will it actually be? Also, Gus Edwards is a solid backup. I'm not saying he's going to steal all the touches, but he's a solid backup. I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be solid. Assuming that he stays healthy, which he's had a lot of trouble in the past with that, he's got upside. I'm really not big on him, though. I'm really not grabbing him almost anywhere, to be honest with you. Travis Etienne, I gave a pretty good breakdown on the last video. We got the coach up here talking about Travis Etienne is going to get 1,700 yards on the ground. In what world? Y'all drafted Tank Bigsby in the 3rd round. Y'all are going to give him touches. I don't see the 1,700 yards. I think he's going to split with Tank Bigsby. I think he'll have a majority of the work, but I do think that Tank Bigsby is going to be taking a load off. Also, the coach likes to run a committee. He's not going to be the only dude. They don't want him to do that. Not big on Travis Etienne this year either. Next up, we got Rachaad White. He's got the backfield mostly to himself. Bucks aren't going to be a great offense. I do think they'll dump it off to their running backs, though. Baker Mayfield throws to his running backs okay. The best running back behind him is Sean Tucker, who I actually think is going to be pretty solid from a dynasty standpoint. But I think this is Rachaad White's job to lose. He's going to get a majority of the work in a bad division with an offense that is probably going to use him. Opportunity. Fantasy football is about talent and opportunity. I think Rachaad White is okay, and I think he's going to get the opportunity. Solid draft pick where he's going. You can basically just copy and paste that last conversation about Cam Akers. Talent and opportunity. Except Cam Akers actually showed that he's got a little bit of talent. The last 3 games of the year last year, admittedly, that's a small sample size. But the last 3 games, he was the best running back in fantasy football. I'd say that's pretty good. He was the 2nd best running back in the last 4 weeks, but I mean, he doesn't have the same zest to it. Number 1, I am number 1, because 2 is not a winner and 3 nobody remembers. Shout out to all my old heads out there. Yeah, we're old now. Nelly has not been relevant for a while. But I think they're going to give Cam Akers the opportunity. He should be pretty solid. Moving down to tier 7, we got Kenneth Walker. The talent of Kenneth Walker is so good. I really like the talent of Kenneth Walker. He would have been ranked so much higher if Zach Charbonnet didn't get drafted to the Seahawks. But he did. I'm not happy about it because I think that Kenneth Walker has the chance to be a beast in this league. But if he's splitting work with Zach Charbonnet, who is a good pass catcher, he's a big dude, so they're not going to take him off the field when he has goal line touches. Now, I do think that Kenneth Walker is going to be the main dude here, but he struggles with injuries, and he's kind of a smaller back, at least in comparison to Zach Charbonnet, which I think they're going to split more than I want, especially where Kenneth Walker is going in drafts. So disappointing. Speaking of disappointment, Breece Hall. Again, the talent of Breece Hall is so good, but they just signed Dalvin Cook for like $8 million. $8 million? Saquon signed a franchise tag for $10 million. $8 million is not no money. So I think they're going to split the backfield. Towards the beginning of the season, Dalvin Cook will probably get a majority of the work. Not a vast majority, but a majority. And they're going to ease Breece Hall in. Also, have y'all seen that schedule? It's pretty tough. Honestly, I get why they brought in Dalvin Cook. And no, I don't think it was just to make Aaron Rodgers happy, but I do think it was a contributing factor. Would you want a player coming back off of a huge injury to face this schedule by themselves? Versus the Bills, at the Cowboys, versus the Patriots, versus the Chiefs. They could get lucky and Chris Jones won't be signed by then, but I think Chris Jones is going to be locked in before the start of the season. Just a hunch. And then the Denver Broncos and the Philadelphia Eagles. That's a heck of a schedule. Those are some tough defenses. Of course they didn't want Breece Hall to be the only running back they had back there. Let's not talk about Michael Carter and Zonovan Knight. I don't want them going against these defenses either. So I think they kind of had to bring somebody in. Dalvin Cook was solid last year, and I think he's going to be solid for the Jets. Breece Hall will take some time to get back to who he was last year. So I think he's more of a playoff play. I think towards the back half of the year, he's going to be a lot better. Like I told you before, don't draft Breece Hall trade for him after he starts off bad, because he will. He's in a shared backfield, coming off of an injury, playing against great defenses. I'm not drafting him, but I might trade for him. Next up, we got James Cook. James Cook's looked pretty good in preseason. Looks like he's going to be that dude for the Buffalo Bills. How valuable is that going to be? It's still a little up in the air, but I think he's going to be the main guy. He's a pass-catching running back that can run the ball pretty good. Now, when they get in close, is it going to be him or Josh Allen? Josh Allen's been talking about running the ball a little bit less, so maybe they use James Cook a little bit more, but I don't think Josh Allen's going to be able to help himself most of the time. But where you're getting James Cook in drafts, I think it's worth a shot, unless you're playing on Yahoo. He's going in the 5th round on Yahoo. Not a fan of that. But he's going in the 6th round on ESPN and the 7th round on Sleeper. 7th round is pretty good for a running back that's going to be the main guy in a good offense. So I guess it depends on your platform. Next up, we got Dameon Pierce. He's a running back I've been rising on. Yes, I know that he's in tier 7, but still rising on. I thought that the Houston Texans were going to be terrible. That's actually not the part I changed my mind on. I still don't think they're going to be good. CJ Stroud did show some promise, but I don't think they'll be very good this year. But I like the utilization that they had for Dameon Pierce. I thought that Devin Singletary was going to get more involved, but it seems like Dameon Pierce is that dude. And if that's the case, he should be pretty solid. I still don't like him in the 3rd or 4th round, though. A little early for me. Next up, we got Alvin Kamara. Kamara has been suspended for 3 games. I'm happy we finally know how many games he's going to be suspended. 3 games isn't as harsh as I thought it was going to be, which is good. He wasn't as efficient last year as he normally is, or kind of the year before that, to be honest with you. Especially with touchdowns. His touchdowns have been super low. That's rough. And now there's more mouths to feed. I know we're talking about Jamal Williams, but Jamal Williams led the league in rushing touchdowns last year with 17. That's impressive. And I like that kid, Kendre Miller. He got banged up in preseason, but he looks like he's back. I also think they're going to get him involved. Because from a long-term standpoint, how long is Alvin Kamara going to be in New Orleans? They're probably going to try to get Kendre Miller more involved towards the end of the season, but still, sounds like a lot of mouths to feed. I still think Kamara is clearly that lead dog, but there's a few hungry pups in the room too. Next up, we got David Montgomery. I think that David Montgomery is going to have a good year. Now, Dan Campbell has been talking very highly of David Montgomery. I believe he had a quote earlier in the year talking about you need somebody that you can give the ball to 20 to 25 times a game. Just to be clear, that's not happening. But I do think that there will be situations where David Montgomery gets the ball more than Jahmyr Gibbs fans would prefer. But I think that they're going to use both of them. Where Jahmyr Gibbs is the new DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery is the new Jamal Williams. And like I just said, Jamal Williams led the league in rushing touchdowns last year with 17. That's a lot. I don't think that David Montgomery gets that. But I do think that there's a chance he could possibly get double-digit touchdowns. And you can't say that about all running backs. That's why he's in my top 30. He's got touchdown upside. So long story short, I think David Montgomery is going pretty undervalued. 7th round, sign me up. David Montgomery is a great target for anybody going 0 RB or hero RB. Don't miss out. Moving down to tier 8, Antonio Gibson. I think Antonio Gibson is going to see increased passing work, and Eric Bieniemy is going to try to put his stamp on this offense. And you don't do that by pounding the rock with Bijan Robinson. I think that's going to come with being creative. And creativity means misdirection. You have great receivers in Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. But you also have a running back that for whatever reason, people were comparing to Christian McCaffrey. Just to be clear, he ain't no Christian McCaffrey. But that doesn't matter. What matters is if they want to throw him the ball like he's Christian McCaffrey, this is fantasy football, everybody. I want my running back to catch as many balls as possible. I think Antonio Gibson might be able to do a little something with that. Next up, we got Dalvin Cook, the newest member of the New York Jets, Jets. No, I'm not a Jets fan. I just really like that chant. I don't know. I just think it's fun. I don't think that Dalvin Cook is washed, and clearly the Vikings don't either. You're not paying a running back $8 million for no reason. You're paying him because he's still got something in the tank. You have a veteran in Aaron Rodgers who got there, and you got a rookie who coming off of an injury. It was a smart move to grab Dalvin Cook. I actually advise drafting Dalvin Cook, assuming it's a reasonable price. I see him going anywhere between the 6th and the 7th. I would prefer the 7th, but I think he's going to get off to a solid start, mainly because he's going to get more volume. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be good about getting the Jets in the red zone, and anything can happen there. I do think that Aaron Rodgers is going to want to throw the ball when he gets to the red zone, but Dalvin Cook's got solid hands, so maybe he can get a couple receiving touchdowns. But if you draft Dalvin Cook and he does well in the first few weeks, you might want to trade him. Because Breece Hall is coming. Not at the beginning of the season, but in the middle of the fantasy season, we're going to start seeing a turn in who gets more touches. Because Breece Hall is a beast. And assuming he comes back from this and gets healthy, he's shifty and very explosive. But before that shift happens, you might be able to capitalize on people that need a running back. Running backs go down. Dalvin Cook looks great. He's a big name. Keep an eye out for that. If you draft him, we'll probably be talking around week 7 to 9 and see how he's doing, because you might want to trade him. You actually might want to trade him if he has a good game against the Chiefs. That'll be a high-scoring game. I think the first opportunity you're going to have to trade him is going to be week 4 against the Chiefs. But if you don't trade him, you're going to have to wait until he destroys the New York Giants. Because he's probably not dominating the Denver Broncos, probably not dominating the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know that it's in New York. For those of you who don't know, the New York Giants and the New York Jets don't play in New York. They play in Jersey. And I normally wouldn't care about this, but I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant. All of these people talking about how great New York is and all these other things, which I actually like New York. Nice city. Y'all stadium ain't in New York. The only football stadium that's in New York doesn't even rep New York. It's the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo. They don't even rep New York. When I found that out, that was wild to me. Blew my mind. For anybody that doesn't live up there, I would never have thought about it. Would never thought about it. And then I went up there. It's like, let's go to a stadium. Now we're in New York. We'd have to go to Jersey. I looked at my buddy like, Jersey? Why would we have to go to Jersey? It's the New York Giants, dude. He was like, no, the stadium's in New Jersey, over there. Y'all better change y'all name. I'm just kidding. You can keep your name, but still, misleading. Let's fly on in. That's the stadium, and there's New York City. All the way over there, not right next to us, because it's not in New York. I don't know why that gets me all riled up every time, but it does. I don't know. Maybe because I have to say it for 2 teams, knowing that both of them are a lie. You see that address? MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, not New York. Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. I haven't ranted about that in a while. It should be the New Jersey Jets and the New Jersey Giants, but whatever. Y'all can have it. Anyways. Last up, we have Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert, I believe, cemented his starting role this preseason. Most people think it was because of that long 56-yard touchdown run. And though that was impressive, for me, it was the fact that he was the main guy out there when Justin Fields was out there. That's what matters to me. The long 56-yard run is good. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, it's a 56-yard touchdown. That would be incredible for fantasy. But what I like is the opportunities he's getting along with when he's on the field. He's clearly the dude, and I think that that's worth a spot in my top 30. If you want a detailed breakdown on the numbers behind these players, click up here for a quick recap of all the running backs and their tiers. Let's go over it. My top 30 fantasy football running backs by tier. PPR. Tier 1, Christian McCaffrey, all by himself. Tier 2, Austin Ekeler, also all by himself. Tier 3, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs. Tier 4, Tony Pollard, Joe Mixon, Rhamondre Stevenson, Jonathan Taylor. Tier 5, Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones, Najee Harris, Jahmyr Gibbs, James Conner. Tier 6, Alexander Mattison, J.K. Dobbins, Travis Etienne, Rachaad White, Cam Akers. Tier 7, Kenneth Walker III, Breece Hall, James Cook, Dameon Pierce, Alvin Kamara, David Montgomery. Tier 8, Antonio Gibson, Dalvin Cook, and Khalil Herbert. And to be honest with you, Tier 7 and Tier 8 are pretty close in stat. I mean, it's not razor thin, but it's kind of close. If you're new and you want to check out a mock draft, click here. If you want to understand fantasy football more, or you need help with your draft, click here for the fantasy football training. I'll see you soon. Peace.